I never thought a single moment could unravel the very fabric of my marriage, but it did. It started innocently enough, during a conversation with my husband, Brian, shortly after he received the devastating news of his leukemia diagnosis. We were sitting in our dimly lit living room, the weight of his illness hanging over us like a dark cloud. Trying to ease the tension, he flashed a weak smile and asked, half jokingly, "So, are you going to stay faithful to me through all this?" I rolled my eyes and shot back with a sarcastic quip, something like, "Oh, sure, I'll just pencil in my loyalty between chemo sessions." I thought it was harmless banter, a fleeting attempt to lighten the mood, but the way his face fell, the flicker of hurt in his tired eyes, I didn't realize then that my flippant words would plant a seed of doubt that would grow into destruction of everything we'd built together. In the weeks that followed, Brian changed. His diagnosis wasn't just a physical battle. It was an emotional one that seemed to drain the life out of him day by day. His once strong frame grew frail, his laughter replaced by long silences. I could see the fear in him, the way he'd stare out the window, as if searching for answers in the gray sky. I wanted to be there for him, to hold his hand to the darkness. But I couldn't. The reality of his illness felt like a heavy anchor pulling me under, and instead of fighting to stay by his side, I let it drag me away. I buried myself in my work, seeking any distraction from the suffocating atmosphere at home. That's when I started turning to my colleagues for support, especially Declan. Declan was everything Brian couldn't be in those moments. He was charming, with a quick wit, and a smile that made me forget the hospital visits and the endless medical jargon. At first, it was just casual conversations over coffee in the break room, his attentiveness a balm to my frayed nerves. But soon, those chats turned into lingering glances, then late-night texts, and eventually stolen moments outside the office. I told myself it was innocent, that I deserved a break from the relentless heaviness of Brian's illness. Declan made me feel alive again, electric, even while home felt like a graveyard of unspoken fears. I didn't see it then, but I was already slipping down a path I couldn't come back from. The affair with Declan escalated faster than I could have imagined. It started with a kiss one evening after a work event, the taste of wine still on his lips as we stood too close in the parking lot. From there, it spiraled into secret meetups, hotel rooms booked under fake names, hurried lunches that stretched into hours, moments stolen in the shadows where no one could see. The thrill of it was intoxicating, a rush that drowned out the guilt gnawing at the edges of my mind. I justified it to myself with every step. Brian was too sick to notice, too consumed by his own struggle to care. I convinced myself I was entitled to this happiness, that I needed it to survive the nightmare I was living. But deep down, I knew I was betraying a man who had loved me through every vow we'd made. Then I crossed a line I never thought I'd even approach. Brian's brother, Caleb, had set up a GoFundMe to help cover the mounting medical bills. Chemo wasn't cheap, and our savings were dwindling fast. The donations poured in from friends, family, even strangers moved by Brian's story. I was supposed to manage the account, make sure every penny went to his care. But one day, staring at the balance, I had an idea. Declan had been hinting at a weekend getaway, something to take my mind off things, and the temptation was too strong. I siphoned off a chunk of the money, first a few $100s, then more, telling myself I'd pay it back before anyone noticed. I used it to fund my secret life. Dinners with Declan, new clothes to impress him, a night in a fancy hotel with a view I'd never forget. Each withdrawal came with a pang of guilt, but the exhilaration of living outside the confines of my marriage drowned it out. I was playing with fire, and I convinced myself I could handle the burns. Caleb, though, wasn't as blind as I'd hoped. He'd always been protective of Brian, the kind of brother who dropped everything to help him. I started noticing the way he watched me, his eyes narrowing when I dodged questions about where I'd been, his tone sharpening when he asked about the GoFundMe funds. He began digging, checking the account, asking pointed questions I couldn't answer without stumbling over my lies. Instead of feeling ashamed, I got angry. How dare he judge me? I was the one living in this hell, watching my husband waste away while pretending everything was fine. I resented his suspicion, his sanctimonious hovering, and it only pushed me deeper into my affair. If Caleb wanted to play detective, I just have to be more careful. I thought I could keep it all under control, that I was clever enough to juggle my double life without getting caught. But the truth has a way of clawing its way to the surface, no matter how deep you bury it. One evening, Brian confronted me. I'd come home late again, my excuses flimsier than ever, and he was waiting for me in the kitchen. His hands trembled as he held up his phone, showing me a bank statement he'd somehow gotten access to. His voice was low, shaken with a mix of fury and heartbreak, as he asked, "Where did the money go?" And don't lie to me, I know about Declan. My stomach dropped. He'd pieced it all together. The late nights, the missing funds, the whispered phone calls I thought he'd slept through. Caleb must have tipped him off. But it didn't matter how he'd found out. The hurt in his eyes, the betrayal etched into every line of his pale face. It shattered me. I tried to deny it first, stammering through half-formed excuses. But the evidence was undeniable. I'd been caught. The confrontation was a storm of emotions I'll never forget. Brian's voice rose, cracking with anguish as he shouted about the vows I'd broken, the money I'd stolen for his chance at survival. I yelled back, my guilt twisting into defensiveness, blaming him for being too sick to keep me happy. It was ugly, raw, and unstoppable. Tears streamed down his face as he told me he wanted a divorce, that he couldn't even look at me anymore. I stood there frozen, as the weight of my choices crashed down around me. He didn't just leave me that night. He took the life I'd known with him. Word spread fast. Friends who'd once supported us turned cold. Family members stopped returning my calls, and Caleb made sure everyone knew exactly what I'd done. I'd lost everything. My husband, my reputation, my place in the world. Now, sitting alone in the wreckage of my life, I can't stop replaying it all. The regret is a constant ache, a shadow that follows me everywhere. I see Brian's face in my mind, the man I loved, the man I betrayed, and I'm haunted by what could have been if I'd chosen differently. I lost myself in the chaos of his illness. Let fear and selfishness drive me to a place I can't come back from. I resent the people who abandoned me, the ones who whisper about me behind my back. But I know the truth. I did this. I built this prison with every lie, every stolen dollar, every moment I chose Declan over Brian. I thought I was escaping a nightmare, but all I did was create a new one I'll live in for the rest of my life.